Are you studying for the Florida real estate exam? If you are, you're at the right channel. What I've done is compiled all 1001 most common questions, converted into an audible file so you can listen to wherever you're at. Q&A Cram Exam number 8. Questions 701 through 800. What approach is most often used for the valuation of a business? Income approach. A sales associate receives an offer from a buyer along with a post-dated check. What actions must the sales associate take? Immediately turn it over to the broker. Which of the following is the best source of protection for a consumer who are using the service of a real estate license? State licensing law. Which of the following statement pertains to the VA and FHA loan is correct? FHA insures loans. VA loans are guaranteed. Kara buys a rental property for $350. Looks at over 400 available apartments on the list, but is not satisfied with any of them. After 3 weeks, she requests a refund of her money. What is she entitled to receive? $262.50. With what would an appraiser utilize the cost depreciation approach be most concerned? And its reproduction cost. Sales associate Aaron sells a home that is listed by broker Bob. Who must pay Aaron's share of the commission? Aaron's broker. Complete the sentence. The department or DDPEPR has authorized to issue subpoena to anyone thought to have knowledge of the case at hand. A broker fails to fulfill the terms and conditions as stated in the listing contract. The listing contract states that the broker will advertise weekly in the Palm Beach Post-Times and the Palm Beach Shiny Street sheet, which they failed to do. What may the seller legally do? Terminate the listing contract at the broker since the broker has failed to perform. Who should hold an escrow deposit? A disinterested third party. Which expense is an example of a fixed operating expense? Real estate taxes. If a broker is suspended, who can the broker appeal the final order to? District Court of Appeals. Complete the statement. Members of FREC Probable Cause Panel may be licensed or consumer members. The Florida legislature requires certain disclosure prior to the signing of real estate sales contracts or rental agreements, which is correct. A definition of radon gas must be disclosed. Complete the sentence. Real estate commissions are usually based on the total sales price, including encumbrance. All the following items are typical prorations on a closing statement except state documentary stamp taxes. Which homeowner's rights can keep someone off their property? Exclusion. Where are the rules of the Florida Real Estate Commission found? FAC 61J2. Mr. Smith makes an offer to buy a property. The offer is accepted. 2 days before the closing, Mr. Smith says, "I am not Mr. Smith, I am Mr. Brown, and I do not want to close." Which statement applies? The seller can sue for specific performance. What kind of partnership exists when one or more parties cause a third party to believe a partnership exists when no partnership actually does? And it's ostensible. A real estate associate obtains an offer to lease from a prospective tenant. The agent calls the owner to inform them of the offer. The owner asks the sales associate, "What race is the tenant?" The sales associate responds, "They are Caucasian." Which statement is correct? The sales associate may be subject to severe administrative and civil penalties. Mr. and Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Jones' sister takes title of a duplex together. What type of tenancies have they formed? Joint tenancy. Who may issue summary suspensions? Secretary of DPPR or their representative. How does a broker determine what the selling price should be on a net listing? Add the broker's commission and seller's closing costs to the amount the seller wants to net. When may a sales associate take deposit without their broker's permission? Under no circumstances. A sales associate lists a seller's house and sells it in 2 days. The seller is very appreciative and wishes to give the sales associate a bonus. Which statement is correct? The sales associate cannot receive a bonus from the seller. When an unlicensed person practices real estate, what criminal penalty can be imposed? 3rd-degree felony. After going through the complaint process, the administrative law judge found a broker guilty of 2 violations of Florida Statute 475. The Florida Real Estate Commission can impose all the following penalties except a fine of $15,000. Broker Greer closes a real estate office and sold his inventory to a listing of M&M Realty Incorporated, an office down the street. This is not legal since listings are not assignable. Which statement correctly applies to a branch office sign and must be easily observed and read by anyone entering the office?
How will a licensee's license status be affected when payment from the Real Estate Recovery Fund is necessary due to their wrongdoing? It will be suspended until repayment is made to the fund. Which of the following individuals must have a real estate license to perform an action specified? A salary apartment manager who leases units for more than 1 year. A broker loses $10,000 cash given to them by a customer. The broker is sued, resulting in a judgment of $10,000 against the broker. The real estate recovery paid the judgment on behalf of the broker. Payment from the recovery fund will result in a mandatory suspension. A seller and a broker made an agreement that the broker may receive 100% of the deposit if the buyer defaults. In this locality, a 50-50 split of forfeited profit is customary. What may the broker do? Take only 50%. After a transaction fails to close, the buyer and seller make a conflicting demand upon the deposit held in escrow by the broker. The broker properly notifies FREC of the dispute. The parties to the contract refuse to resolve the dispute, and the broker elects to settle the matter in court rather than ask commission for an escrow disbursement order. If the broker has no interest in collecting the commission, which legal action should be filed? Bill the interpleader. Title insurance is designed to protect against which of the following? Forged documents. How many years must a tax certificate holder wait until applying for a tax deed? The answer is 2. Shelving and racks used in business and installed by a tenant are generally considered to be which of the following? Trade fixtures. Broker Pat shows a home to a prospect. Pat offers to prospect by telling a dirty joke. The prospect advises Pat that they will not deal through them and goes to broker Terry, who shows the prospect the very same house and closes the deal. The home was an open listing. Which statement best applies? Pat cannot collect a commission. A broker receives a deposit on a property, but the seller rejects the offer. What should the broker do? Give the deposit back to the buyer. Which term refers to estimated time that an improvement will be profitable, useful? Economic life. In the course of listing a seller's house, the sales associate noticed a minor repair were necessary. The sales associate suggested that the seller use ABC Contractors Incorporated to handle the repairs. ABC forwarded the sales associate a 10% referral fee. Which statement applies? This is a violation of real estate license law. What property right does an individual have who owns a condominium unit? Freehold estate. An owner of land offers an open listing to 3 Florida brokers. The broker decided to cooperate on the sale and hold an auction as means of selling. They retained a tobacco auctioneer from the North Carolinas and paid $1,000 plus expenses to auction off the property. The auction is held, but the owner rejects an offer. Which statement best applies? Both A and B are correct. A. The auctioneer has violated the real estate license law. B. The brokers may have their license suspended. The answer is both A and B. Which of the following is a required characteristic of a broker's office sign? Contains the name as on the broker's license and the words licensed, LIC, real estate broker. While using a cost appreciation approach, the appraiser may compare the subject property to recently built properties or buildings. What are these new buildings referred to as? They're called benchmark structures. What would most likely be required to build a church in a residential neighborhood? A special use exemption. Complete the sentence. Trees growing on a property are typically considered to be as real property. Mr. Black listed his farm, Black Acre, as being 20 acres with broker Bob for sale at $200,000. Bob obtained an offer from Joe to purchase at $10,000 per acre. The survey shows the farm contained only 18 acres, and since Mr. Black has accepted the offer, the transaction was closed at a $180,000 sale price. Mr. Black is liable for the full and customary percentage of the selling price of $180,000. A broker sells a property to a buyer, and the buyer asks if the attorney is needed to close. The broker tells the buyer that he has sold his property on several different occasions without a problem, and that the property has never had a title problem. He therefore advised that an attorney is not required. The broker has violated Florida Statute 475. Who normally manages a corporation for profit? The director of the corporation working through the executive officers. How would intangible taxes typically appear on a closing statement? Single entry debit to the buyer. Bob, Brian, and Betty were co-owners of a parcel of real estate. Bob passes away, and according to his will, his interest in the property passed to his wife. What form of tenancy did Bob have? Tenancy in common. After negotiating all terms of the contract with a seller, a buyer signs a contract and then makes a minor change in the terms and conditions before it is presented to the seller for signature. What is the status of this offer? It is now a counter offer. A broker sells a house to a buyer and recommends a particular title company. The title company forwards a referral fee to the broker. The broker is in violation of the law. A broker asks a sales associate to fill out documents in a manner that the sales associate knows is illegal. What should the sales associate do? Refuse to comply. Abby purchases a house with her son and daughter-in-law. The deed requires that if one of the 3 partners dies, the interest of the deceased would pass to the remaining tenants. Of which type of estate is this an example? A joint tenancy. Who are the parties to the contract after a sale contract has been completed and the money placed into escrow pending closing of the transaction? Buyer and seller. An office policy manual typically contains all the following except salary ranges for independent contractors. 3 members of a family purchase an office building without the rights of a survivorship. 1 dies. What type of estate do the remaining family members have? Tenancy in common. Jack and Jane each purchase 50% interest in the same building at different times. What are the two owners considered to be? Tenants in common. What is the status of the option without valuable consideration? Void. A California broker refers a prospect to a Florida broker. The Florida broker sells this prospect a property in Boca Raton. Even though the California broker did not participate directly in the sale, in fact, was never even in the state, the Florida broker sends half the commission as a referral fee. The answer is legal. Complete the sentence. Discount points that are charged by lenders are a percentage of the loan amount. Which document allows a buyer of a cooperative to comply a unit? Proprietary lease. I guess it's a co-op. Okay. A broker has a listing in which part of it was oral and part of it was written and signed above the initials LS, but all the parties understood all the terms and conditions and agreed to them. Which best describes this agreement? Parole and formal. A sales associate agrees to give part of his commission to the seller, provided that the seller agrees to send the sales associate at least one hot buyer prospect. This is a violation because Florida Statute 475 prohibits compensation unlicensed individuals for referrals. Bob, a resident of Kentucky, has been an active broker in Kentucky for 10 years. Bob wishes to obtain a Florida real estate license. All the following statements are correct except he must begin again in Florida as a sales associate. What does the creation of condominium require? The recording of the declaration in the public record. What may a broker be guilty of if they do not perform under the terms and conditions of a listing contract? Abandonment. If a realtor has a sign in the office window indicating that the broker is a member of a particular organization, but in fact the broker was dropped from the organization for failure to pay dues, what should the broker do? Remove the sign. What is the maximum fine that FREC can impose against licensees found guilty of a first-degree misdemeanor? FREC imposes only administrative fines, not criminal fines. Which of the following estates contain the least rights and its tendency as sufferance? Complete the sentence. All listings should be in writing to avoid any misunderstandings. A buyer gives a deposit check on a sale of a house to the sales associate and inadvertently makes the check out to the sales associate. What should the sales associate do? Endorse the check and give it to the employing broker. Abel, Baker, and Charles form ABC partnership to buy a real estate. Each partner invests $25,000. The ABC partnership approaches broker Dave, who negotiates the sale contract with Evan. The partnership gives Dave a deposit check for $75,000. Broker Dave took the deposit money to Las Vegas and lost it all of it playing blackjack. ABC sues the broker and obtains a judgment against him in the amount of $75,000. Dave could not pay the judgment, and the claim was filed with the Real Estate Recovery Fund. How will FREC authorize the fund to be paid? $50,000. A daughter deeded a property to her elderly mother with the stipulation that the property would return to the daughter upon the mother's death. What type of estate does a daughter possess? An estate in reversion. Which type of loan, also known as a subprime loan, is offered to borrowers who do not qualify for loan underwriting while certain criteria and standards established by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? Non-conforming loans. All the following statements are correct regarding the corporation's sole, except it may it may broker real estate. What is another name for tenancy of years? Leasehold estate. Which time period applies to an estate for years? It is for a fixed time period. A mortgagor who purchases under FHA 203B mortgage loan program may have monthly payments that include principal and what else? Interest, tax, insurance, and mortgage insurance premium. Before regulations is granted to foreign corporations to do brokerage business in the state of Florida, it must have at least one active Florida broker, and a corporation must receive a letter from the Florida Secretary of State giving permission to do business in Florida. A Georgia broker accompanies his prospect to Florida and shows them 3 homes. After finding a home that the prospect likes, the Georgia broker finds a Florida broker to give the deal to. The Georgia broker requests 50% of the commission as a share of assisting in the sale. Which statement applies? If the Florida broker pays the Georgia broker, both will have violated Florida Statute 475. How much is provided by the Homestead Act for the basic tax exemption? $25,000. When the mortgagor fulfills all his obligations under the note, what clause protects his right to the property? Defeasance clause. The Raymond Corporation acquires 60 acres of ranch land, sequentially subdivided into 5-acre ranchlets. The offer them for sale. The officers and directors of the corporation agree to pay themselves regular salaries. The corporation will pay each officer or director a commission of 15% of the sales price of each ranchlet that said officer or director sells, which is correct. All officers or directors of the corporation must be registered licensed brokers with the FREC from this agreement to be illegal. Which action would be considered a first-degree misdemeanor? Failure to comply with rules regarding rental list. A buyer makes an offer that the seller accepts. Before the broker can tell the buyer of the acceptance of his offer, the buyer dies. What is the most likely status of the contract? Void, because the buyer did not know the offer was accepted before he died. And the last one before the math questions that I'm going to hold until all the 1001 questions are finished. The tax is excluded on the capital gains of the sale of a personal residence. If it is the principal residence, for at least how long? And the answer is 24 months. All right, thank you for sticking around and listening to all these questions. But as I previously stated, it's really good to just listen to them over and over again. So I hope this helps. I know it's definitely helping me. And hope I see you guys around in the next video. Thank you.